So the next point of this chapter is the nutrient cycling. Okay, now what is nutrient cycle or nutrient cycling? Okay, so this is a very important concept which is related to our biogeochemical cycles. Okay, so what is this nutrient cycle or the biogeochemical cycle? Basically what happens is there will be some kind of movement, or you can say the exchange of the nutrients between your biotic as well as abiotic components, that is living and non-living constituents which are present in an ecosystem. Okay, so this interactions, whatever takes place between them, that is called as what? Biogeochemical cycles. Okay, so it's like whatever your original form of your means whatever the original form component is there, that has been converted into different forms so that they can easily be used up by the organisms. Okay, so as we all know that if you take soil, what are the nutrients which are present in the soil? There are carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium. Many things are present in the soil which are taken up by the plants so that they can run their biogeochemical cycles, right? So this particular nutrient cycle which is there, it's very important. Okay, means how much amount of nutrients is available at that particular time and how it uses to maintain a balance between the ecosystem. Okay, this is what is called as what? Nutrient cycle. So whatever nutrients they are taking from the soil, after decaying, it goes back into the soil. So that's why it's written over here as what? They are recycled again and again. Okay, so whatever there's a movement of the nutrient cycles between the various components in an ecosystem, then they are called as the nutrient cycling. Okay, so this is a very important concept because there are even different benefits of the nutrient cycle. So first, as I told you, whatever the nutrients are there, they always get transformed from one to another form. Okay, so that it makes it more simplified so that they can be used up by different species. Okay, for example, the atmospheric nitrogen. It is fixed by the bacteria's rhizobium bacteria, which is present in the plants. Okay, in turn, whatever benefits are there, they are gained by the plants as well as the organisms which feeds on them. Right. Next is what? From air, water, soil, whenever it leaches away, or at that time, what will happen is there's a transfer of nutrient also from one place to the another place. So thereby maintaining what? A balance in that particular ecosystem. So it's just a way how the living organism and the non-living organisms, they communicate between each other by using each other's product. Okay, and this relationship also maintains your one more important cycle, which is called as what? The food cycle. Okay, hence this nutrient cycle is a very important point when you study about the ecological processes. Now, what are the types of nutrient cycle? So these are the three types which we have, which is the gaseous, sedimentary, and hydrological cycle. So gaseous means it will deal with the all the air which is there, means carbon, nitrogen, oxygen. Sedimentary cycle means sulfur and phosphorus, whereas hydrological cycle means it's the water cycle. Now all the cycles are regulated by what? The environmental factors. All the basic environmental factors such as soil, moisture, pH, temperature, everything. Depending upon that only these cycles they run, okay, or they work out. So how much amount is being consumed, how much amount we are getting back, all these components depend upon what? The environmental factors. So whatever we have already studied about the energy flow. So energy flow is very important. I told you in case of a food chain or a food web, that is the movement of energy from one tropic level to the another tropic level, which is always in what? Unidirectional way. So hence the energy flow has a very big connection with what? Your nutrient cycle. Okay. And because the name is nutrient cycle, so whatever process is there, it will be what? A cyclic process. Okay. So cyclic process means whatever nutrients are there, they are further recycled and converted into the useful forms, which again can be used by whom? The earth. Okay, so as we see the gaseous cycle which is there, they are the gaseous cycles which are there, the examples, as I told you, all the components which are present in the atmosphere. Okay, the like the carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, this all is the gaseous cycle. In sedimentary, you will sedimentary. Why it's called a sedimentary? Because soil and rocks will be giving this kind of cycles, which provides what the sulfur and the phosphorus. Whereas hydrological means it's with the water. So hence that's called as what? Hydrological cycle. So the very important cycle that we have is nothing but the carbon cycle. Okay, so if you see over here, now this is how the carbon cycle works. So what's happening over here is carbon cycle. It's like a very important cycle in an ecosystem. Okay, nowadays we commonly hear one term, which is what? Global warming, or in short we can say also it's the climatic change, right? So whenever the change happens in the carbon cycle, we say that it's due to the global warming. Suddenly if it rains, it becomes hot or cold, we say, oh, there's a lot of global warming which is happening, right? So this thing, that is, if in case any of the cycle changes, so we say that it is due to what? The global means the rise in this whatever global temperatures is there because of that. So if we take the living organisms and the non-living organisms, this carbon is being transferred between the both. Now, how that's done is, like for example, the trees. They what they do is they take in the carbon dioxide that we release and they give out fresh oxygen, right? So whenever the animals are consuming the plants, okay, they take what? The carbon in. Now the same animals when they die, they will release the carbon back into the atmosphere. So this is what all a cyclic thing. Here you can see there's an emission from the factory, okay, and then the carbon dioxide is there. It's taken in by this plants to make up the process of the photosynthesis. It's eaten by whom? The animals. So respiration via also the carbon dioxide is given out. When the animal dies, you can see over here organic carbon is there, right? So all these things are what? A cyclic thing. Now, whenever a fossil fuel is also being formed, at that time also they will be reacting as a coal. So coal is also a source of what? Carbon. So hence, whatever the carbon dioxide, if it's emitted in more amount, it is all due to the cause of what? The global warming. Okay, so this is all about what? The carbon cycle. In the same way, we have the another cycle I told you, the nitrogen cycle. So nitrogen cycle, now see, if nitrogen is not there, life cannot exist, right? Because all the organic molecules which are there, for it to process nicely or smoothly, what we need is the nitrogen. So, as I told you earlier about the nitrogen fixation, right? So there will be what? Nitrogen fixation, fixing bacteria, which will be present in the plants, right? So they are going to release they are going to use the atmospheric nitrogen and converts into some of the useful form which can be used by the plants. And when we consume that plants, we'll also get used by that. We'll also get that particular essential nutrients which are there. Okay, not only that, nitrogen cycle, when the lightning happens, there also whatever your nitrogen which is already present in the atmosphere is going to convert into nitrates. Okay, and finally we also have something which is called as what? Denitrification process. So denitrification process is nothing but, already we know the denitrifying bacteria will be present, so they are just going to convert the ammonia into the nitrogen and make it into useful components like nitrates and nitrous oxides. Okay, so that's about the nitrogen cycle. In the same way, oxygen cycle we have. So oxygen cycle is also somewhat same. Now, obviously, plants, animals both needs what? Oxygen to survive, right? So there also the whatever we have a term which is called as what? Cellular respiration. For the cellular respiration, oxygen is very important because we breathe out the carbon dioxide and that is released as what? A waste products. So all these things, that is the oxygen cycle, which is that's also a recycled thing which has been present. Then when you come to the water cycle, that is also, now here if you see, okay, now this is basically the phosphorus cycle which we have over here. So in the phosphorus cycle, what you can see, just a second. Okay, so this is what the phosphorus cycle. as now here you can see in the diagram, okay, down. Yeah. So this is how the phosphorus cycle works. Okay, now first of all, you need to know what is the phosphorus cycle and what are the steps which actually takes place in this cycle. So basically, the rocks, water, soil, whatever is present in the inside the earth, right? So phosphorus moves from all these components, and that is how they go into the environment and then returns back to the earth. So phosphorus is actually a very important element for what? ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is what? The energy which is present in our cells, right? So if there is no phosphorus in the soil, then whatever crops they will be growing, they won't yield properly. That means you are going to get what? A poor yield over there. So hence phosphorus is also very important in what? Development of the cells, because ATP, the major, the component of the ATP is what? The phosphorus. So what is there in this diagram first of all? So if you see this diagram, okay, here there are different steps which is happening over here. So the first thing which is there, which is called as the weathering. It's called as what? The weathering. Now what is weathering? Now whenever there is rain, the rocks weather, okay, and or maybe certain bacteria will be present over there which are capable of releasing acids which also weathers the rock. So when this happens, then whatever the phosphorus which is already present in the rock and the soil, it is released. Not only that, whatever phosphorus they are present on the mountain slopes or those things, whenever rain comes, it will percolate down. Over here, if you see, wind and rain erode phosphate rich rocks. So what is happening to this is whatever rocks already which are containing the phosphorus, due to the rain, they have already been weathered and now they are leaching down. Okay, so not only the rain, but different natural calamities, okay, or volcano eruptions, all these things are going to move the phosphorus from one place to the another place, which are present already inside what? The rocks or sediments of the earth. So this kind of phosphorus will be in what? Inorganic form. So whenever a phosphorus is released by the process of weathering, the phosphorus will be in which form? Inorganic form. Now, what happens to this released phosphorus? So, basic things is, let's go to the first criteria, which is animals and plants. Now, whenever we get an inorganic phosphorus, which is what present in the soil, first who is going to take that? It's the plants, because they are already growing on that particular soil. So, inorganic phosphate will be used by the plants. Okay. So, here you see plants absorb phosphorus from the soil. Okay, so sometimes what happens is whatever phosphorus is naturally being absorbed by the plants, it may not be enough for the plant's growth or for the yield. So we add the additional fertilizer, which is containing what? Phosphate. So further, what happens to these plants? It will be eaten up by the who? The animals. Means these plants will be eaten up by the herbivores will be eaten up by the carnivores, omnivores, and it just continues. So what is happening? Initial state, whatever the phosphorus is there, that has been transferred from one category to the another category. And finally, even if you see not only the plants or animals which are on the earth, but also some fishes which will be already present in the this one, the ocean, seas, and all those stuff. There also you can see the phosphorus sediments will be present. So they also get this particular phosphorus. Okay, so this is how phosphorus helps in what? DNA buildup or the cellular functions of various animals. Okay, means the phosphorus plays a very important role in the biomolecule formation. So whatever given out phosphorus is there, it returns back to your ecosystem by a simple process, which is called as what? Decomposition. Which is called as decomposition. So whenever a plant or animal dies, whatever organic phosphorus are there, they will be converted back into inorganic phosphorus, and then again the same process repeats. Okay, so this is how the phosphorus is released and phosphorus is given back to the environment. So, as I told you, like the oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, and all hydrological cycles, phosphorus cycle is also very important because the existence of life on the earth is also because of this phosphorus cycle. This also maintains the equilibrium between the biotic as well as what abiotic components. And here also the cycling will happen. So, if there is no phosphorus cycle, ATP will not be produced as the energy, and further, what will happen? The life obviously will be impossible without the phosphorus. Okay, so if you see, the availability form of this phosphorus are in many ways. Like sometimes it may be the bacteria. Okay, sometimes what happens is the bacteria will be responsible to take the phosphorus from the areas where the plants cannot reach them, and they will just provide it to the plants. So they will get that phosphorus which is necessary for them. Then it will be adhered to the surface and it will be used by various organisms. So this is what called as the what do you say, the phosphorus cycle. So along with the benefits, you already have the drawbacks or human effects also of the phosphorus cycle, because any good thing, if it's in more amount also, it will be what having certain kinds of effects. So here also, due to certain human activities, okay, means if they put a phosphorus rich fertilizer in more amount, or when if the eutrophication happens in the water bodies, then whatever your phosphorus cycle is, that is going to change completely. Okay, so at that time what may happen is, now if you take the say if you take the river, okay, or lakes. Now there is something which is called as eutrophication. So it's nothing but what the algae which is there, it grows in more amount in the water bodies, and because of that, it leads to what high rate of the eutrophication. So eutrophication, when it happens, where whatever the aquatic life is there, they will be in shortage of the oxygen. So that's one drawback if the phosphorus is in more amount. Even for the humans, okay, like for example, if the animal waste or dead bodies, okay, if they are not treated properly, then again this phosphorus is going to leach out into your water bodies. They have been consumed by the humans in a higher levels, and it may also lead to what death also. So always in whatever cycle it is, there should be an ecological balance. Okay, how much is created, that much only should be taken in. Excess of that could even lead to what more severe effects on the animal or the human life. Then we have the last point of our chapter, which is the ecosystem services. Now, what are the ecosystem services? When the ecosystem gives you certain products which are very useful, okay, they are called as what ecosystem services. So there are many benefits which you get from the from their services. For example, the first benefit what you can see is purified air. Purified air. Okay, so purified air and water, if you have, then the ecosystem will be what healthy. In the same way, it helps in cycling of the nutrients, which we have already learned. Then, whatever the soil is there, that becomes fertile. Okay, it provides a good habitat for your wildlife, as well as it maintains your overall biodiversity. So whatever droughts or the floods which comes, that is also been mitigated to a certain extent. So hence, whatever the ecosystem services are there, they are very useful because it produces what on or it only gives what benefits to the living organism in turn. So because of all these things, ecosystem services plays a very important role for the maintenance of what the overall living and non-living thing connection.